Welcome to the Create and Grow Show. I'm your host, Georgi Todorov, and today we have a super interesting guest. His name is Mario Peshev, and he's a serial entrepreneur, a growth advisor. He has an agency as well. Maybe I'm missing a couple of things because he's many things, actually. Hi, Mario. How are you doing?
Hi, Georgie. Good to be here. Thanks. How are you?
I'm a little bit sick, actually. I got a cold,
Mm.
but that's a great excuse to stay at home and record a few podcast episodes.
Well, the beauty of selling a business a few months earlier and being primarily a remote team owner is that you don't really have to go to the office often, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Can you introduce yourself properly? Because my half-ass introduction wasn't that good, I guess.
No worries. I'm just wearing too many hats, and honestly, it's a jack of all trades and master of I'm not sure how many. But yes, I do run several businesses. I'm an advisor. I've advised over 400 different businesses in terms of operations, management consulting, marketing strategy, digital transformation, so forth. Um, a contributor for Forbes, entrepreneur, angel investor for I believe 16 different businesses right now, and yeah, I spent most of my time in kind of growth strategy and growth hacking because I'm very passionate about just uncovering new ways to generate revenue and creating diversified revenue, recurring income, and that kind of stuff.
Great. So you just gave me an idea for the first question. That's a little bit spontaneous podcast episode. We just found that we're both available right now, so I don't have many prepared questions. But you
That's the
gave
best
me
one.
an idea for the first one. So, how did you get a contributing author in all those great websites such as entrepreneur.com, Forbes, Business Insider, I think as well, Inc.
Mhm. Yeah. Mm, so I believe that persistence and perseverance help a lot. Whenever you have a goal, whenever you have a vision, it's a matter of time and just taking the steps there. So let's imagine that you want to become a great prolific writer for one of these sources, and you're somewhere here and you want to reach here. And the difference that people do is they say, I want to go from here to entrepreneur, right? They just try to make that huge leap. However, unless you have a private airplane, you can't really do that most of the time. And you just need to take some basic, generic kind of micro steps towards that goal. And you know that very well. You had a link building agency, and you've been discussing that quite a lot, meaning that you've produced many hundreds of guest posts in different sources, and that's kind of one of the best steps to do that, right? You start
Yeah.
writing. First off, you publish your own blog. You write on your own website. You write on social. You become a prolific writer. You create connections with different people. Um, Maybe you develop a popular account, a writing account in Medium or Quora or any of the other sources. You become a regular guest post on guest blogger on kind of specific sources. Then you go to the mid-tier kind of industry journals, and then at some point of time you can actually apply or get invited to one of the other sources. Now, my first foray into that was actually through Quora and Haro. So the two sources that I used to start back in 2015 or so in one of these sources. I think my first entrepreneur um, release was in 2015, was through Help a Reporter Out, which
Mm.
is one of these sources where journalists are seeking experts, subject matter experts. It's costs like $20 a month or so to apply and keep scrolling through the feed of dozens of different pitches every single day.
How did it
So
work back then? Did they quote you from Haro and they
yeah,
mentioned your quote?
I started with a quote and the link, which was kind of pretty valuable. This was kind of my first, pivot into one of these sources, and I was okay. That's super amazing, and now I need to actually start kind of publishing and kind of get to entrepreneur. Now the next step, I believe, was through 2016 or 2017. I actually got away to entrepreneur via Entrepreneur India. Now, most of these branches like Forbes and Entrepreneur and Inc. and some of the others, they have international branches, right? So obviously, United States is the busiest one. It's the hardest one to get to. Then the European ones, and then some of the other ones are kind of less less populated and kind of easier to get into. So through one of the marketing Slack communities, I got connected with an editor in Entrepreneur India, and they were seeking some great content and kind of providing European insights there. So I got invited first through Entrepreneur India, and they started publishing there. Now, even though whenever you open the article, you see Entrepreneur India kind of on top in a small logo, it was actually hosted on entrepreneur.com. In their main domain, it was getting the organic reach and visibility, so it acted just as it's supposed to do. Then in 2017, perhaps, or maybe 2018, but I believe it was earlier, I was active on Quora. I just made a habit of answering a couple questions a day for over a year. So I amassed several hundred responses to great questions. Some of these got picked by their media team, and that's how I got them republished on Entrepreneur, Inc., Apple News, I know Slashdot, a bunch of these other sources. So this kind of became a way to become a one-time author for some of these sources, and I kept writing for Quora. In 2018, I got the top writer quill, which is one of the top, 200, 300 people on Quora with the biggest accomplishments in writing or something like that. And, this was something I was positively thinking of. Now, I'm not as active in Quora anymore. They kind of changed the algorithm. They moved to Spaces, kind of more of a community, automated generated answers and stuff like that. So I feel the quality is lower, but back then it was really credible. I met lots of angel investors this way, serial founders, holding company owners back before it was cool. And then at a later point, I got into YC, Youth Entrepreneur Council, and you can submit a monthly article and it goes to one of these popular sources. Then I got connections to the actual US Entrepreneur website, and they also signed up for Forbes Tech Councils, which is kind of an invite only, once again, through YC for businesses making at least $1 million a year. So I'd say that's kind of the journey going upstream. And now I have other aspirations as well, such as getting some collaborations with other B2B industry media sources such as Gartner, Forrester, and other kind of renowned sources in the higher tier B2B space.
Great. And do you have any other outlets that you can mention that you became a contributing author and that you are contributing regularly besides those?
I need to open my website. I'm listing some of these because I honestly don't remember most of them. I don't contribute that often just because lack of time or so. But I have a lot of pieces on Inc. magazine, Small Business Trends. I used to publish more frequently for recruiter.com, All Business. I was a publisher at Thrive Global, which is by the former founder of Huffington Post. Business to Community, I was writing pretty frequently there. And yeah, I have like Publishing Executive, which got acquired by Adweek, and some others that come to mind.
Wow, that's really impressive list. How do you get into Inc? That's probably the third biggest business magazine after Forbes and Entrepreneur, Business Insider, and then it's Inc.
I believe it was a combination through Quora and Youth Entrepreneur Council. With YC, they have a partnership with Inc. And since I had Entrepreneur and Forbes Tech Council, I actually spoke to the editors and say, hey guys, I have a column on Forbes already, so can we prioritize more Inc. publishing there? So it was primarily due to kind of partnerships and
so you used
with editors.
Your Forbes column as a leverage to get into Inc.
Yeah, like I said, it's more about starting here and getting there and just using some of the extra steps along the way. Once you have
like
some
stepping
creds.
stones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great. Tell me, how do you repurpose your content? Because I can see that you're producing a lot of content for different social media accounts, especially on LinkedIn. You're super active and you're posting a lot. Do you have some process for that, a recipe? Probably first you create a blog post and after that you repurpose for newsletters and for social medias, or how do you do it?
So back when I started, and I'm very passionate about repurposing actually, I was a regular seasoned speaker in 2015, 2016, 2017 for different events and conferences, including in Sacramento in the States, on repurposing. And that's something I firmly believe in. Later on, Gary Vee posted his kind of repurposing framework. Alex Hormozy has spoken over the past couple of years about that. So it's becoming more common and more predominant, I would say. Back when I started with video. Let me see when when was that? Probably again 2016, 2017. LinkedIn introduced video as a format, and it worked pretty well. So I started recording video clips. Their limit was about 10 minutes. So it was kind of perfect. It doesn't take forever to prepare. It's not short form like a 30-second video. These weren't popular back then. No TikTok, no Instagram videos and stuff. So I was working on 9 to 10 minute videos, discussing kind of a business topic at length. So the way I structure that is over a weekend. Let's say I sit on Saturday, I record 3 or 4 of these videos, and I have kind of a weekly content for a video a week. Then I was working back when I started, and now I have a team. So obviously it's easier, and I would actually kind of propose people to also consider virtual assistant or something like that. It's not that expensive if you generate revenue from that. But back when I started and I was doing that myself, I was spending 8 to 12 hours a week on tons of different channels entirely by myself. So recording the videos on a Saturday, then going to rev.com to extract subtitles and captions. This is going through a manual process. It used to cost something like $1 a minute, so about $10 to get manually typed in subs back in the day for every video. And this was kind of the premise of both of my video captions and my blog post. So I did some light editing to create a blog post out of that. At some point, I was also extracting the audio for a podcast. So I was just reposting that in a podcast way. And then kind of manually, and obviously now AI can do that a lot more efficiently, take the snippets and create short form posts on Twitter, on Facebook, even on Instagram, and LinkedIn with kind of captions and kind of some of the chapters. Now, whenever a post works well, we turn it into a creative, which with Canva templates, it's fairly easy. And we do have some Figma templates now ready for this. And again, with AI, it's a lot easier to actually start regurgitating a post and expanding on a specific topic and creating posts out of a specific post and creating similar topics. And you can do a lot more now with over the past year and a half with ChatGPT on the market.
Great. Sounds really good. I'd like to ask as well because you have an agency, and I'd like to ask you, how does selling services work in 2024 compared to 2-3 years before? What changed?
Right. So I started the agency back in, I would say 2010, but I actually worked as a full-time freelancer since 2008. So it's been 15 to 16 years working solo. And back when I started, it was actually at the peak, or rather at the bottom of the previous great financial recession. So my premise was I was working a job. I wasn't really happy with the job. It was actually an okay job, but I had to commute for an hour and a half any direction and working solo on a project. So there was no collaboration, no major on site. My bosses were in a different country. My clients were in North America. And it just didn't really add up to just go to the office with 2 other people working on 2 different separate projects. So back then, the economy was in a recession. I said, okay, I'm going to start now. And that's going to be the worst possible time over the next decade. And if I'm able to persevere and survive, it's only going to get better from then. I was right. It was hard, very hard. I managed to survive, and the next 10 years were easier. So far, so good. The problem is then that in the 2020s, we have recessions going on again. Some of these are formal, some of these aren't, but we definitely see that demand is lower and dropping. We saw the layoffs of late 2022, the down market of 2023, and the massive waves of layoffs at the start of 2024 as well. So it's been a hard year and a half, and that comes after the pandemic and the lockdowns and everything else. The pandemic also killed some of our marketing channels, which is events and just going on site and meeting clients and meetup groups in the States and whatnot. So I would say that the 2020s have been hard overall for lead generation. Now, of course, we have different channels. Our 4 core channels are inbound marketing, or rather SEO, partnerships, strategic partnerships with several vendors that work with the kind of same target audience. Um, Partners, I would say, well, probably former account managers moving to a new company and onboarding us in their new company, which is a great channel, and my own personal branding / thought leadership and personal connections. These are kind of the 4 channels. So most of these are still alive and kicking. Some of these aren't for different reasons. Primarily, our partners cannot refer work to us when inbound is not as active and when the marketplace has definitely changed. The other thing that's pretty important, and also as an advisor and as an angel investor, I see every single day for a year and a half, is that because of the economic turmoil, the organic lead funnels have dried up, meaning that lots of businesses cannot no longer rely on their organic channels as they used to be. And a lot of our sales calls in the agency over the past year, particularly, were we used to survive for 5 and 6 years primarily through, let's say, SEO or PPC to a landing page, and then the funnel works, whatever it is, just like one channel or a partner or a marketplace or affiliate. So that one channel carried us over throughout the year. Now it dried up, and we are looking for at least 3 different sources to make money because we lost like 60% of our revenue.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
So
that.
you are telling me that digital marketing agencies and service providers are really feeling a crisis, a financial crisis, because many other industries, I don't think they are seeing any problems right now. It's not like 2008 for sure, not so brutal, at least.
I would agree to disagree. If you take a look at layoffs.fyi, which is kind of the metric of all startups going under, most of the white collar market, which is the prestigious, reputable companies, have been doing layoffs over the past year and a half. Now, what does that mean? Every single, well, maybe not every single, but all major companies that we can think of did layoffs. This is Meta, Google, Amazon, Apple, and you can go through an entire list. Microsoft did a few of these and so forth. Most other specific designated B2B industries doing CRMs or other types of services had layoffs. The gaming industry is very distressed. The e-commerce space has dried up almost entirely in terms of investments, additional funding, and it's been going on for a pretty serious period of time. You can also tie that to other industries that were distressed. 2022, crypto exchanges went down, which is why for a year and a half, the entire crypto ecosystem died out. Then several banks went bankrupt. Silverbank, Silicon Valley Bank, and a couple more early 2023, about a year ago. And kind of as a result of that, lots of people lost business. The market dried up with about a 20% drop last year. The stock of the largest technical companies went out. Meta's stock dropped with about 60% in 2022, which was crazy, and that's why they had to start doing some layoffs. They killed their kind of Meta project for over a year. That Realty Labs. And yeah, like Apple just did shut down their autonomous car project because lots of other automotive companies were out of business. Over the pandemic, obviously, for about a couple of years, everyone in brick and mortar, which is everyone who has a store, had severe issues during the pandemic for 2 years in a row. Everyone in traveling, in hospitality, hotels, airlines were distressed. Lufthansa had to be bailed by the German government. And yeah, I mean, if you look into that, the past 3 years have been absolutely horrible for 90% of the businesses out there. There were several winners: online grocery shopping, oil, obviously because of the wars and others. So
Yeah.
there were 2 or 3 profitable industries that kind of stayed afloat, but it's been extremely brutal, not just for digital or marketing agencies, but everyone else. And normally the reason digital tech marketing development agencies are distressed is that even if they run a diversified portfolio, most of the categories they work with have a very hard time, file for bankruptcy, do layoffs, cut unnecessary spend, ad spend, sales spend, R&D spend, and so on. So it's kind of a byproduct of what's happening on the market.
Don't you think also that those layoffs in big companies right now are happening because those companies are trying to optimize their process and use more artificial intelligence instead of people.
Yes, that's definitely a factor. And there are different levers of how the ecosystem works. Now, it's kind of a hidden secret or show, but back in 2019, 2020, 2021, a lot of the Silicon Valley Bay Area companies were hiring people and even benching them just so that other competitors don't get a hold of great talent. And that's very sad. Some of these companies have been paying like $300,000 a year salaries for people put on pet projects and side projects and just monitoring or kind of dumb stuff, just so that competitors don't get a hold of them. Which means that efficiency was definitely a problem. But in a bull market, it's more about the measurement of success and what does a company measure as success. Now, there are different trains of thought here, but I would say that small and medium businesses, freelancers, agencies, all of us are uh, kind of working backwards from what the larger economy looks like, meaning what enterprises are doing, what the government is doing, and kind of we are vendors, subcontractors, providers for these big companies or mid-sized companies working for these companies. Like even if you have a SaaS client, that SaaS client is selling to Salesforce, Amazon, Google, and so forth. So if Salesforce and Google are buying that SaaS product, they have a lot of business and they're working with us and they're granting us more work for design, development, SEO, marketing, whatever it is. If our SaaS company is distressed, it means that the enterprise are distressed, and that's kind of how it trickles down. So for many years, the startup ecosystem was booming, the VC funding was booming, companies were growing, which meant that everyone was trying to hire and just get more talent on board and work on more initiatives because there was free money to spare and spread across different initiatives, including R&D and new tech and devices. Whenever money is tight for different reasons, and now we have the Fed's interest rate is high, mortgage rates are high. In the States, loans have to be returned, and like lots of other different factors. Then companies start to cut business development budgets because they know that their clients don't have money, R&D budgets because they don't want to invest in something that may be irrelevant in 18 months when the economy gets better, and so on. And they trim down SaaS subscriptions, they cut down vendors, freelancers, contractors, they renegotiate agency rates. Lots of these things are happening in a bear market. So to your point, yes, AI has definitely contributed to that, but I would say that it's a general. The reason that the media is the fourth power is the media often controls the narrative. The media is influencing decisions to the largest institutional investors, and the investors decide what happened. Right when Meta stock once again fell down with over 60%, this kind of twisted Zuckerberg's hands, and he said, "Okay, I'm going to cut down the spend on Realty Labs, and I'm going to fire some people so that the investors are happy that we are not overpaying and we are not hiring too many people for no apparent reason because we can be profitable with fewer people as well." Then the stock immediately gets up. This was along Elon Musk's Twitter acquisition. He bought Twitter and fired 75% of the people, and the business still remained the same. So, a couple of these companies making a precedent leads to Google firing people and Amazon firing people and a few others hiring people. And that immediately grants the freedom for everyone else to apply optimizations they've been dreaming for years, but ones that would have been condemned by the public and mass media and communities unless the larger titans aren't doing the same. So it's more of a PR game of whenever a couple people have a good excuse to do something, others will follow, and then everyone else will follow, and that's what's going to do the cleansing of the market.
Yeah, I see. So basically, everything is so connected that if those huge behemoths, those huge companies have any issues, it comes down to you as an agency, and also it goes also to the freelancers, and they have less work. So the economy is so connected, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask about the services that you offer to your clients, and if you do, I know that you do mainly WordPress services for them, but if you do SEO, maybe let's speak about that a little bit. And what case studies do you have on SEO?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, we can't name many names because we work in high tier B2B enterprise and we have very tight contracts and NDAs. So I wouldn't be able to share
Let's
many
just call
specific
the
names.
niche.
Yeah, okay, that works. But in terms of the agency, yeah, we started as a tech agency, but um, back when we started in 2010 or so, our kind of motto was bridging the WordPress ecosystem with the enterprise. So we started working with the enterprise from day one. This is what I knew. My former background was lead engineer for enterprise projects, telecoms, banks, multinational chain stores, ERPs, CRMs, and things like that. So I wanted to kind of service that market, probably slightly lower, with a platform that's faster, better, easier to build MVPs on and iterate on, and you don't need 30 engineers to reinvent the wheel and build a product. So bottom line, I've been working with the enterprise for since forever, and that's kind of a market that I know better than kind of other markets. And even though we started as kind of a WordPress shop, because we've been working primarily with product managers and marketing managers and product owners and executives and other C levels, we've always worked very closely on strategy and roadmap and growth channels and optimization and automation. So we kind of developed like three different tiers. The development part was R&D. So we are building, again, research and development, building new tools, new systems, new platforms, and so forth on top of WordPress. Then there's the automation optimization, which is how to make this process better, how to save people's time, how to make them more efficient, how to yield more gain and kind of better work. And because WordPress is a content management system, which means that you can tap into inbound marketing, SEO, landing page generation, funnels, and everything else. The third natural continuation was digital marketing. We signed a partnership contract with HubSpot in 2016 as an agency partner. We were, HubSpot certified for SEO and kind of other things. We are now on SEMrush agency as well, and kind of we've been tackling these three verticals depending on the market dynamics. And the reason we do that is kind of resilience. So again, businesses go through ups and downs. Whenever businesses generate high profit margins, they hire more people, or they invest more in R&D, or they build new products and new features and so forth. So development is really uh, kind of in demand. Marketing is always in demand, but you just sometimes products sell themselves for real when market is really in the hype. But then when businesses are distressed and marketing is really not a thing, everyone's cutting down R&D budgets. So you start focusing more on automating resources, optimizing resources, now with AI, automatic, content generation, programmatic SEO, lots of other things that you can do at scale, both. And also marketing funnels, just better converting landing pages, A/B testing, conversion rate optimization, and kind of lots of other kind of areas that are in demand. So in terms of SEO, we do have a portfolio of clients working with SEO. Most of them are an upsell from our development contract. So we start with a rebuild or picking up a distressed project, and then we start bundling kind of other services for this. Again, most of them are in B2B, B2B SaaS. We have B2B commerce that we work with right now. So their products are kind of average order values over $1,000. So it's not a $20 drop shipping item, it's $1,000. But their e-commerce is generating like 15% of their revenue, and most of that is selling directly to governments, military, education, municipalities. So they sell that specific product, 500 out of them, and they do very solid, very massive contracts, like a $500,000 contract with the government for this, $2 million contract for that, and so on. We also have directories, which is kind of a directories for a specific space, almost like Yellow Pages for a niche industry. And yeah, again, B2B SaaS, communities, publishers are others that we also work with. We do SEO for publishers. That's also one of the categories we kind of work with a lot.
Okay. I guess that this client of yours that works with the government and with the educational system, they don't need a lot of marketing because they already have the distribution channels. But tell me about the clients that do need SEO and traffic. What is your SEO process and how do you bring the traffic to their website?
Yeah, so I'm going to touch on a couple of other examples, but I'm going to revisit the first one real quick. So even if you sell to the government and education and so forth, there are other channels. Obviously, there's going to specific government-based events. Like one of our clients was actually in the White House last week, so that was pretty impressive. But you also need the brand credibility and reputability. So these businesses also need to show up on first page of SERP, which is roughly speaking kind of what they need to do. They have other business propositions that need to show up there. They need credibility from other sources, and that credibility often comes from research assistants working in, again, Forrester or Gartner and doing some research. And unless their public data, does not reach the right eyeballs, this is something that is really problematic. So these businesses also need SEO for brand credibility, for employer branding, for developing strategic partnerships, just to kind of confirm that they are on the map. As for the other businesses, we kind of have several different approaches. The first one is pretty straightforward and standard. We run an assessment of the SEO landscape. We kind of build a breakdown of target keywords and headlines. We build outlines for these. We do pretty thorough competitor research. We figure out what are the key transactional and commercial keywords that we need to take care of. We build pures and content hubs around them. We build lots of backlinks to them to outcompete the competitors, better skyscraper content for them, and so on. Content updates as well. So it's mostly a kind of traditional, just premeditated, well-refined, optimized journey that we've been doing for Devrix for the past 10 years. And we also do for other clients as well. A couple of other, and two of our clients that we signed in August have grown 35 to 40% of their traffic since by continuous optimizations and kind of outlining specific pieces that can rank really well and acquire additional long tail keywords, and then it kind of trickles down under as well. So it's kind of a premeditated effort that's mostly a traditional SEO, I would say. One other thing that we are doing more frequently or more commonly lately for two of our other businesses is we do programmatic SEO, meaning that we do directories that are um, AI infused and AI generated. Like think of Yelp for tourism. It's
Yeah.
kind of a different category, but just an idea. So we get all cities and kind of all hotels. So first off, we can generate a couple hundred pages for all this and just grab general city information, average temperatures throughout the year, and yada yada. You can pull that from indexes, from APIs. You can generate that with AI. Then you can pull just like the top 10 restaurants or top 10 hotels and have that bare bone page that is pretty unique, and you can generate 200 of these pages in like 10 hours of preparing the development for that. Very powerful, especially when you tie to Unbounce or so for pulling um, the right images, or even including DALI for generating AI infused data. So this is another thing that we do, and it's having a pretty decent effect. Or rewrite some things that are pretty common, like historical events or specific frameworks or anything that's kind of in education. Like you have 50 ways to do something, and we regurgitate that and just create as a knowledge base. I believe that's the reason why LinkedIn created the collaborative articles. They know that they can create the essentials with AI, and they just need to start infusing and updating after to rank better.
You got me interested on the programmatic SEO that you do for your clients. Can you tell me how do you index all of those pages that you produce?
Well, it's. I mean, I'm not going to say it's not hard, but we definitely do a lot of semantic internal linking. So we create directories. In most cases, again, if it's cities or categories, like I'm going to say like fridges as an example, right? So first off, if you have a fridge maintenance or show business, you want to write about fridges, you want to write about the different cities that you serve. So you get a list of all states and a list of all cities, and it's a pretty easy index to just literally link on your homepage and get up to the third click position, so that more or less everything gets indexed up. That's a very kind of rough and blunt explanation, of course. Now, of course, the more you grow your kind of content portfolio, the more you start peaking Google scroll budget, and and indexing becomes harder. So we do infuse that with different kind of secrets. First off, internal linking is very, very important. So we plug that whenever we can without being spammy, of course. We do related posts, related cities, other things people do in that area, other services you can do here. So there's a pretty comprehensive internal linking map. We also create different pillars out of this. So we rank by again, type of service or type of business, type of industry, area, type of persona. So we have several of these kind of high tracking pages depending on what people are looking for. Because when you go to a kind of higher tier like enterprise, let's say you go to IBM's website, you may want a specific piece of hardware. So you seek products, or you want a solution, or you want to identify your industry, or a specific target audience, or a specific buyer, your ICP. So there are different ways a specific individual or a buyer is categorized, and different ways they search. So we try to make sure that everything is interconnected in those indices. And of course, we don't have 100% indexing for the larger directories, but we're always striving to just improve that and interconnect. And the more we also build indexes to our pure pages and content hubs, the more it also trickles down to the other interconnected pages.
Great. And can you tell me more about your side hustle? I guess we can call it a side hustle, but I know that you like to acquire websites and then work on them, improve them, and eventually sell them for more. Can you tell
Mm.
me what is your process here?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've bought over 40 sites, I believe. And again, many of them weren't really large. Again, most of the acquisitions are in the 3 to 10K range or so. So it's not buying $100,000 business or more. So most of them these are smaller, but also most of them we have an easy way to either integrate that into something that we do. So it's kind of, let's say, buying a tool could be a lead generation for the agency.
Mhm.
um, Pretty easy. So we buy a tool for $5,000 and it becomes a lead magnet for clients. And even kind of our average lifetime value of a customer is about $100,000. So obviously it pays off 20x by a single client. So that's a no-brainer. So some of these acquisitions work like this. Others are products. So we have, let's say, WordPress products. One acquisition that I made several years ago is WP-CRM system, which is a CRM product for WordPress. There are tons of CRM products, but I bought that for a little under 20,000 several years ago, and it paid back in full in 14 months or 15 months. So a little over a year, it paid itself back, and that was many years ago. So by now, it's a 4x or 5x or 6x its previous revenue, especially when you consider Black Friday campaigns and stuff. So some of these are kind of cash cows. It's mostly passive businesses that we can kind of accumulate, and we can, of course, always sell it in between. Now, this is what I call a strategic acquisition. It's not necessarily a great financial acquisition if you don't have a business ready and up and running and ready to acquire this. Now, again, I'm going to take it a step back, but you have two types of acquisitions: financial and strategic. Financial is an investment bank or private equity or someone else just buying a business, and they need to kind of have a company with all of the required aspects and sources to run that business. So if they buy a business X, imagine they have no company, so they need to have an LLC, they need an accountant, they need a legal firm, they need someone in admin or ops, and then they need all the other functions that build the product, like a developer, a copywriter, system engineer, or whatever. They need to pay for the hosting, they need a CRM system, a marketing system. So it suddenly becomes very expensive. So most of these businesses aren't a good fit for financial investors unless they are pretty large and already profitable. And even if you buy the entire company, you can just infuse more money to the channels that work because you're an investment bank and you have billions, and then everything is great. But there are lots of strategic businesses where, again, in our case, we're an agency, so we can just acquire another product. We already have the developers. They're not fully utilized. We have a support staff that's like, 24/7 or so anyways, so they can service clients in their spare time along with the other products that they do. We have accounting and legal. We have an office. We have equipment and blah, blah, blah. So it's not really another expense for us, right? The product is alive. We can generate whatever, 3 articles a month and then get 1 or 2 guest posts, and everything is going to run on autopilot almost for free and generating pure revenue. So these strategic acquisitions are very important. And also, as an angel investor, I've worked with lots of businesses, and whenever they try to sell, it's really important to figure out if the business is actually suitable for a financial acquisition, or it needs to be strategically acquired by someone larger who can leverage that at a much higher percentage of kind of what they do. So yeah, I have content sites similarly making money from ads or guest posts. And again, if they can pay back in 18 months or less, then great. And we just use them as a content wheelhouse, or like featuring some of our clients as part of our marketing services, or using them as part of the link building services. So we can also upsell them through the other things that the agency does in between.
Yeah, so basically, it's a great idea for everyone who has a marketing agency to acquire blogs, content websites that are in the niche of their client, and then to leverage those content websites to link to their clients or to exchange backlinks with other blogs and acquire more links for their clients. There are so many opportunities.
Yeah, totally. And even if they're not in the exact same niche, sometimes it could be just passive revenue business. Again, agencies, the biggest problem they have is if they don't have funds, they don't make money, right? But if you invest in a property that makes a certain amount of money, then it's great. Right now, and again, over the weekend, I've been browsing Flippa, and I picked 3 different listings that I'm reviewing. They're selling between $35,000 and $45,000 and making between $1,500 and $2,000 a month on average. So let's say their payback time is about 2 years with the current process, but we've also noticed that they're pretty ugly or not very well optimized. So as soon as we slap something like NitroPack to speed them up, and we fix the homepage and just the general blog post single page, we know for a fact that they're going to rank better and convert better, and we're going to increase the page views per session, and they're going to start making money on autopilot after the acquisition for an investment of a couple grand or so. So again, as an agency, I would also consider just that passive recurring revenue as an opportunity to grow standalone business, and yeah, have other means of income that are not necessarily tied to seeking new clients.
So, what other weaknesses are you looking for when acquiring websites besides the two that you mentioned? Not so beautiful design and their content is not greatly optimized.
Yeah, I don't even think it's weaknesses per se. So I'm going to break it down into 2 different kind of branches. So the first one is what makes a listing fake or problematic or shouldn't be bought or risky. And the second one is how can I make this incrementally better in no time. So the first aspect is very important. A lot of the listing, just as let's say you're looking for a rental apartment or a house, most of these are going to be fake or non-existing listings, or really rotten, something that you don't want to buy. So again, if you're buying a car or a house, you check out a lot of the listings and they're fake and disappointing, and they're misrepresented. So the same thing happens with listing sites and selling services, by the way. I mean, even if you see services, everyone's promising you to become a millionaire, create videos for free, grow your funnel, whatever it is. We all get all these outreaches, and 99.99% of them are fake. You just don't know if that 0.001% is works better or so. So yeah, back to these properties. It's really hard to figure out whether the data is true or not, but I spend the most time trying to figure out if that listing is legit. Now, in some cases, they've been hit by an SEO update, right? They've been penalized for something. In other cases, they've been pumping up paid traffic. And right now, this traffic is not going to sustain over time. It's not going to be the same. We've seen a lot of cases where a product got, especially for newer products, like 6 to 12 months older, and we try to buy ones that have been around for 2 or 3 years or more. But the newest ones, they had a launch on Product Hunt. It went well. They generated some revenue. It's lifetime revenue, so you don't have recurring subscriptions. You cannot replicate that, and you also have to service clients that have paid for lifetime. So that's a really sucky one, and we've seen a lot of this. Or someone selling a business through events and on-site, and just going to doing workshops. So if you buy the business, the only way that business sells is through these workshops, and if you don't do workshops on site in that same area, essentially you're screwed. I've seen a lot of these, so I would say that most of these are whether that business can self-sustain, whether that revenue channel can remain, if you change the owner, whether the business is going to stay the same. And then the second thing is just what are the quick incremental improvements that I can make to immediately increase the revenue, right? Like, do I have an email list that I can immediately sell that to and almost pay this off? Is it something that I can, again, plug into DevRix's services and automatically resell to our clients? Is it, again, slow site, ugly site, bad converting landing page, number of freebies that don't have to be freebies. You can just charge $90 for each or $49 and then, push them to a funnel. And all of these are kind of things that I'm thinking of. First off, is it legit? And if I believe it's legit, then how to make it better.
Yeah, great. I think I have one last question before we finish for today. Can you tell me 3 to 5 things that you check in a website before acquiring it, before making an offer?
Traffic, revenue source, founder, legitimacy of the domain, and organic channels that are generating revenue. Now, I can probably not remember all this, but I want to make sure that the Google Analytics traffic is legit. I want to see the mediums and sources. Again, if it's paid ads or an influencer blasted something or product hunt, that's not really repeatable. And I also want to kind of check the other boxes. Is the revenue legit? Is it something that you can replicate? I've had acquisitions where I cannot port or migrate the account. Like one of these acquisitions that I'm looking has a Mediavine account for ads, and Mediavine's policy states that you cannot transfer one account to one owner to another, even if you sell the business. So it means that the business is legit, it makes money, but you need to start all over and sign up for that service and hope you get the demand. It gets really tricky, and you may actually fail in doing that. So transferring the actual account is something that we definitely take care of. And then we check all the other sources. Are there organic channels? Is there a healthy social account? Is there an email list that's healthy and easy to maintain? Because if I was looking at an AI project by PhDs in AI writing a newsletter, so it was very profitable, but unless you have a PhD in data science and artificial intelligence and machine learning, you simply cannot carry this over unless you find one and hire one, right? So these are some of the simple nuggets that I'm going to look into. But again, I wouldn't say that as a discouragement. I still believe it's a great thing to do. Just don't believe everything you see on the internet.
Absolutely, I agree, because I've been also browsing to acquire some websites, and I can't believe that there are so many scams. For us,
Yeah.
people like us, it's super easy to spot those scams. We just put the domain on SEMrush, Ahrefs, we see that there is no organic traffic, and then I ask the buyer, hey, there is no organic traffic in SEMrush, and you showed me that in Google Analytics there is a lot of organic traffic. So why is that? He said, oh, we don't use SEMrush, we use only Google Analytics. So yeah, for someone who doesn't understand that, it is super easy to get tricked. So please probably use an advisor, invest a little bit of money to use a vetting company or pay someone to consult you. Thank you, Mario, for your guest appearance. Please tell where people can follow you and find out more about you.
Thank you, Georgie. You can check out my website, mariopeshev.com. I'm also around on LinkedIn as Mario Peshev, and I write on Twitter as no_fear_inc. Also available on other channels, but these should suffice for the starters.
Great. I will make sure to drop those links in the show notes so you get some great backlinks from different platforms, and also people will find you easier. Thanks, and have a great afternoon. Bye bye.
Have a good one. Bye bye.